In a development that has sent shockwaves through Kyiv and much of the international community, reports have emerged suggesting that the US could formally recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea. This move, if it happens, could change the global political landscape in dangerous ways. But why is this such a big deal? And what could the consequences be for Ukraine, the US, and the world? Let's dive in. The Crimean Peninsula, a region of Ukraine seized by Russia in 2014, has been a flashpoint of conflict ever since. Despite the fact that Russia's annexation of Crimea was widely condemned as illegal, the situation remains unresolved. Now, the possibility that the US could officially recognize Crimea as Russian territory has alarmed Ukrainian lawmakers and raised serious questions about the future of global diplomacy. The news came as part of a broader proposal reportedly being considered by the US government to end the Russia-Ukraine war. This proposal includes recognizing Russia's control over Crimea and potentially limiting Ukraine's NATO aspirations. And it's fair to say that Ukraine is not taking this lightly. Volodymyr Ariev, a lawmaker from Ukraine's European Solidarity Party, expressed grave concerns, saying that such a move could plunge the world into numerous wars. He warned that it would set a dangerous precedent, one that could ripple across international borders and bring the world back to a time of territorial disputes and military confrontations. Ukrainian officials like Yelizaveta Yasko from the Servant of the People Party fear that even raising the possibility of recognizing Crimea as Russian could unravel the delicate negotiations aimed at bringing an end to the conflict. She specifically warned against de jure recognition, meaning formal legal recognition of Crimea as Russian. Now let's break down the two terms, de jure and de facto. De jure recognition would mean the US officially acknowledges Crimea as part of Russia, something that would make it permanent under international law. It would essentially close the door on any possibility of Crimea ever returning to Ukraine, unless by military force. On the other hand, de facto recognition would be more of a pragmatic acceptance that Crimea, controlled by Russian forces, is likely to remain under Russian occupation for the time being. However, this wouldn't necessarily remove the possibility of diplomatic efforts to return the territory to Ukraine later on. The distinction is crucial. While de facto recognition might allow for future negotiation, de jure recognition would essentially lock in the status quo. And that's what has so many Ukrainian lawmakers up in arms. The Ukrainian constitution recognizes Crimea as an inseparable part of the country, and no government in Kyiv could legally accept any deal that acknowledges Russian control of the region. And the stakes are high. Many fear that if the US pushes for such recognition, it could spark unrest within Ukraine itself. Lawmakers, including Halina Yanchenko, have stated that no government in Ukraine has a mandate to make such concessions, and such a decision could lead to violent protests or even a political crisis, further destabilizing the region. But the potential consequences go beyond Ukraine. If the US were to set this dangerous precedent by recognizing a territory seized through military aggression, it could embolden other countries to pursue similar strategies. The implications for international law and order could be catastrophic. As Ariev put it, recognizing Crimea as Russian territory could open Pandora's box globally. This wouldn't be the first time territorial disputes have sparked global conflict, but this recognition would be the first since World War II that the US would officially accept land seized by force as part of a nation's territory. The dangers of such a decision are obvious. President Zelensky has described this moment as a very dangerous one. And it's not just about Crimea. Ukraine's future as a sovereign state, its territorial integrity, and its hopes for NATO membership are all at risk. But it's also about the integrity of the international system that was supposed to prevent such aggression in the first place. Vice President J.D. Vance's remarks make it clear that the US is at a crossroads. The US is pressuring Ukraine to make a tough choice, Either accept the proposed terms or risk the US walking away from negotiations altogether. But such an ultimatum risks being perceived by Kyiv and the rest of the world as a betrayal of Ukraine's sovereignty. The question remains, will Ukraine and the US find common ground? Or will this proposal drive a wedge between them, with far-reaching consequences for the future of European security and international relations? One thing is clear, the stakes have never been higher. The world is watching closely, and the decisions made in the coming days could reshape history. What do you think? Should the US recognize Crimea as part of Russia? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.